The GMC Envoy Open continues after these messages.
And the fastest time in the world this year, 3:29.99. Gabe Jennings, a Stanford sophomore who won the 1500-meter NCAA championship at Duke in late May, has been on a teeter-totter today. He was in the race, he was out of the race, back in, and then about 5 minutes ago decided not to run. He is with Armin Keino.
Gabe, a very late decision for you not to run tonight. Tell us about that.
Well, 2 days ago, I was doing some speed work, and my hamstring started acting up. It got pretty sore, like I could barely run the next day. Anyways, I ended up going to my massage therapist, and he did some miracle work, and it's really not hurting right now. But, you know, it's just too chancy. You know, the big show's in 2 weeks, and I'm just not, I never forgive myself if I hurt myself today. So I'm saving it, and I'm getting ready for the trials.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you there.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Well, the big show to which he refers, the Olympic trials, which will take place in Sacramento. His teammate, Michael Stember, is in the race.
Vern Stember has really been in the shadow of Gabe Jennings all this last couple of years. He will be a senior next year at Stanford. And this race is about running fast, not exactly about who's in it.
Lane assignments, the 1500-meter. Sammy Langat of Kenya expected to be out with the quick pace for the first 800 meters. Mutai of Kenya. And you see the others, Jason Lunn of the United States. Jeremy Huffman was a late ad. Shaun Creighton of Australia completes the field.
On your mark.
Vern, the original idea here was to set this race up for Gabe Jennings to run an Olympic A qualifying standard of 3:36.8 or better. That hasn't changed even though he's out of the race, because there are several Americans, including Michael Stember in this field, who would like nothing more than to get that standard under their belt. The idea is to send the maximum allowable of 3 athletes in each event. In order to do that, those 3 athletes need to have achieved the Olympic A standard sometime between January 1st of last year and September 11th of this year. There's a little more to it once we get to the trials, but suffice it to say, this race is being run with the express purpose of getting under 3:36.8, which is the rough equivalent of a 3:54 mile.
Michael Stember currently running second behind Sammy Langat of Kenya. Martin Keino is third. Jason Pyrah of Brigham Young University is running fourth.
Now, Sammy Langat is supposed to be taking this pace out in a very, very good tempo through about 800 to 1,000 meters, 56.1 for the first 400, so they are certainly on pace to run the time that these Americans would like to do. But Langat ran earlier in the 800, and Langat is really getting after the pace here.
I'll tell you, Vern, this year Stanford has been holding distance carnivals, and they have been getting some incredible times out of a lot of American athletes. A lot of them have been making the standard to go to the United States Olympic trials.
And Carol, as you were mentioning earlier when we were talking, these Kenyans have been training up here at Stanford, know these athletes very, very well, and this race plan has been worked out very well. But so successful have those distance carnivals been that more athletes than were expected have qualified for the Olympic trials in the 5,000 and 10,000 meters. At this point, there's more than 45 entrants in the men's 10,000 meters, and they're just going to run one race of the Olympic trials. That could get ugly.
Just under 2 laps remaining. Langat continues to lead. And just behind him, Stember of Stanford. Martin Keino of Kenya is running third, and Pyrah moves up on the outside now.
They slowed that second 400 down a little bit, just a little under 60 seconds. So now they're starting to drop off the pace as you see Langat moving out into the outside of lane 1. He took it for 900 meters, and that is it.
So Martin Keino assumes the lead. Pyrah just off his shoulder.
And you know, that's a difficult situation sometimes when you have a rabbit in the race. The rabbit's running out in front. He's setting the pace. It's kind of like a no-brainer for some of the athletes running behind him because they're not concerned about the pace. The most important thing now is whether or not they can keep up the pace that Langat set earlier in the race.
And you can never miss Jason Pyrah there with his characteristic sunglasses. Hair a little bit shorter and a little bit blonder than we last saw him, as Keino in the lead with the bell. Pyrah right there on his shoulder, and Stember tucked in the red of Stanford.
Sammy Mutai in fourth, and Richie Boulet is running fifth. He's in the black.
2:56 roughly at 3/4 of a mile, so they're going to really have to get after it if they want to run that standard. And Pyrah is in full sprint with Stember right on his right shoulder.
Stember takes the lead.
Stember and Pyrah with 200 meters to go.
Well, if there's anybody who knows this track well, it's going to be Michael Stember, but he appears to be laboring a bit as Pyrah now moves on the inside of Stember. Almost a rookie mistake by the senior-to-be from Stanford, but Pyrah is putting the foot down. He's trying to get that standard.
Jason Pyrah, Brigham Young University. Boulet moves up on the outside, running in black. Stember trying to hold second place. Here comes Keino. Pyrah has the victory.
Unofficially 3:38.23, so letting the pace go in that third lap really hurt them, and that usually where the pace lags. That's where Sammy Langat walked off the track, so they didn't make the standard, but it certainly was an honestly and well-run race.
Pyrah makes sure he knows exactly where he is right now. He's moving up on the inside of Michael Stember. Stember lets him go by, but I don't think he had enough room to actually move in on him. Jason Pyrah pumping his arms very, very hard right now and looks in good form. Stember struggling a little bit towards the end of the race as you see him falling back, and Pyrah driving towards the line.
Richie Boulet almost catching Stember. You can see the pain on Pyrah's face. He gave it everything he had. He was looking at the clock all the way down the last straightaway, hoping that he could get under that A standard, but he'll have plenty of opportunity during the Olympic trials. But those times and those races tend to be tactical, so getting the standard there is probably not going to happen. He may have to wait until Europe.
Nice way for Jason Pyrah to celebrate his recent marriage. A time of 3:38.22 and first place in the men's 1500 meter. Stember finishes second. Martin Keino of Kenya hung on for third.